Hello, and welcome to this brief tutorial on harness Canary deployments. My name is Gabriel, and my mission here is to ensure you understand the mechanism behind this vital feature of harness. It is straightforward to start doing Canary deployments with harness, to be honest. In this quick video, I'll be showing you how you can start making your releases super reliable in a Kubernetes environment. And the fun thing is that you don't need any complex solutions to get this setup working. No Kubernetes ingresses, no sidecars, no network splitting strategies. Harness would natively support ingress, for example, and service mesh, but you don't need them, okay? So I'm going to start with a simple diagram, and I promise I will be quick. I just need to show you in detail what's going on under the hood while Harness is doing the deployment for you. So I'll be using a very simple K3s cluster. Nothing installed, is vanilla. I just have the kube scheduler and the cluster running, and that's it. So let's see the diagram right now. Okay, so let's check the current state in the cluster right now. So what is going on here? I have a very simple Spring Boot application running on version 5.04, and it is deployed as a simple deployment in Kubernetes, which spans a replica set and contains 4 pods. For the entry point, I have a very simple service, a Kubernetes service. Anything fancier than that, this is not happening here. It is just a node port. And if I was running this on a maybe Amazon or GCP, I would be using a load balancer probably. But for this use case, I don't even need that. Harness will just take care of everything for you, even that you're running local node ports or cluster IPs. It doesn't really matter. It could be a customer interface solution or APIs, microservice, it doesn't matter, okay? So what is happening here is that when a client makes a connection using this node port, the service is going to send all the traffic to this 5.04 version, which is the initial one. Let's say this is version 1, okay? So I could have started using Harness since the first deployment. It doesn't really matter that I don't have anything deployed. Harness will not use that to understand which is the percentage of canaries it should be deployed. It uses the service definition YAMLs. So let's say that I use Canary 25% on something that is the first deployment. Harness will understand that the total replica is 4 and 25% of 4 should be 1. So it just do that for you automatically. So in other words, when we are doing a rolling deployment, instead of doing fancy stuff with the current deployment, Harness will just span another deployment for you here on this new version. So let's say that I'm running on version 5.05 now. And I define it on the pipeline that I want to deploy 25% of canaries based on the current deployment, so or the stable. You can name it whatever you want. So 25 means 1. So Harness will just use the same service, and this is happening automatically. Harness is taking care of those for you, and eventually it has 1 chance in 5 to falling on this newer version. So you are seeing the real canary happening here. A client connection might fall on this one, while you are tracking everything here in the cluster using your observability tools such as AppDynamics, Splunk, New Relic, Datadog, Prometheus. So you could be monitoring your golden signals, your latency. You could go into you have a new exception on this release and in destroying HTTP 500 in the face of the customer. This was not happening before. So are you sure you want to keep doing this canary, or should we just stop here? It's not even a rollback. I'm just going to delete the canary, right? So on the other hand, if we are getting confidence, I can keep adding more pods here until I reach, I don't know, 75%. And I'm confident enough that I'm going to use this version in production. It doesn't matter. So what Harness is going to do, if you want, this is totally configurable. So in our use case, we're going to do that. I know the situation is stable. I like this new version. I want to keep going to production. So Harness will slowly doing a rolling deployment here for you until everyone is running on version 5.05 here. And then I'm just wait Harness to delete the delete the Canary release, and that's it. The final situation is 4 pods as we requested initially, running the newer version. So this is pretty much what happens in a Canary without any ingresses, without any fancy network splits or redirects. You know, it is pretty straightforward. You just have to have a cluster that can handle 2 or something like that pods extra, and that's it. So let me show you what's going on in the cluster right now so we can understand the Canary deployment in detail, okay? So, okay, let's check what is going on in the cluster before the Canary deployment happens. So, in other words, I should have a single application running in a deployment on version 5.04, which is the initial version, and a service sending the request to the target pods, and that's it. Nothing special, nothing harder than that. So I'm gonna bring up this subsystem for you, which is my subsystem that has reachability to the cluster. And let's see the existing namespaces. Okay, so my application is running on this namespace, okay? So for harness, this namespace is the target infra. So for example, if you are deploying SSH applications like on a JBoss legacy, you would have like a CIDR of IP pools, like a VMware's running Ubuntu or CentOS or Red Hat, and that would be your target infra for your Canary. For Windows, you would have like an application pool or server pool, and you have WinRM connections, and the deployment will happen in a similar way. Canary is supported. But for Kubernetes, and it doesn't matter if this is pure Kubernetes or Helm charts, a cluster with a namespace, this composition means a target infra. So it's normal like having like a dev namespace, you know. So you would have multiple namespace on the same cluster. This would be your way to segregate in production from development. I don't know, you know, it's your choice really. But let's see what's going on right now in this cluster, which is in this namespace, which is pretty much our target infrastructure for our laboratory right here. So, okay, nothing special going on. I have a deployment here asking for 4 replicas. So the replica settings taken care for you. As you know, when you do deployments here in Kubernetes, it's going to span a replica set for you. And then the kubelet will enforce that as an agent of container runtime. You know that. So in other words, I just have a deployment here running the initial version, which is 5.04. And we can check because that's a node port. So let's see. Get nodes, wide. I'm running locally, but just so I can be more realistic, it would be something like that, right? Okay, it is running. So let's see on the browser because it's easier to understand the version. So I'm just going to close this subsystem here. Okay. And let's go to a new tab and check this out. Okay, let me just take this Angular from your face or React. Okay. And this demo version is running on version Semver 5.04, which is this initial version. I could have started using Harness to deploy this initial version with Canary. It doesn't matter at all. Harness will just handle that for you. It just checks the YAML and do the calculation, like what is 25% of 4, which is 1. So let's start deploying this Canary. Since this is another deployment and another replica set, it doesn't matter. It would not break. But this is more realistic, right? I have something already running in a poor way, and I want to introduce Canary releases to this situation, so I could do that. So let's start creating a pipeline, okay? Let's do it. Okay, so let's create a pipeline to represent our Canary demo, K3S, okay. So I'm gonna start doing a deployment stage here and deploy to production, right? And the deployment time, since I am using a Helm chart, I could have decided to go with a native Helm, but I will not. I will just use Kubernetes because Harness is smart enough to render and to run the template engines and replace the variables, the secrets, and just use kubectl commands at the end. So it is going to use rollout status. It is going to check your readiness pros. It knows how to replace the Veloz YAML for you. So you don't need to go native Helm here, just Kubernetes, okay? The service, it already exists, so it's the Java demo, and I'm going to share with you everything required to do this XSM deployment in your site as well. So for example, I do have all the templates here, all the variables, and I also have the source code of the Java application, the Docker registry. I'm going to share everything with you. It's going to be super simple to follow along, okay? Okay, so now that we have the service configured with the registry and the Helm chart files, everything is here contained on this service, on this harness service entity. I can go to the environment. On the environment, I decide to go with prod and that cluster that we created already. So the delegate is running, everything is working. And what is the target infra, as I told you? It's pretty much the cluster and the namespace, okay? So as long as it follows your release strategy naming, Harness can start taking care of your releases for you, no worries. So let's go. So, okay, let's pick a deployment strategy here, execution strategy, you can name as you wish. So if I go with Canary, I'm just saying that I have a single entry point and I want my two versions to respond to that. So when I know they are ready, I just replace the older one. So that's pretty much the Canary. I want to have at the same time two versions running, and I do want customer requests to both versions because I want to test with real production traffic, right? So we are talking about production, okay? So I should be tying that together with observability, with site reliability engineering, right? So what does that mean? It means that if I have a very good technology stack for observability, so if I have Prometheus, Splunk, AppDynamics, New Relic, Datadog, you name it, Dynatrace, I could use those steps to make sure that I can tie my verifications of my SLIs or my metrics in fly. So I know that my golden signals are not going to be attacked by this new version. I don't have any degradations in latency, probably on my SLAs. I did not introduce any exceptions that might be sending some nasty HTTP 500 in the front of in the face of the customer. So I can use this release strategy to test traffic with real production data and traffic, and I can at the same time use my monitoring tools to make sure that everything is reliable and is stable and is good to go. It's not only simple Prometheus metrics. I can tie APM tools here. We have a lot of customers using AppDynamics or Dynatrace or New Relic with that release strategy as well. So let's go with Canary. And as soon as I click here, Harness is going to deploy an initial configuration, and that's working. That's already working. I'm just going to save that because I want to do a funnier strategy here. It's simple, but I want to do a different version here. So just I can freeze in time and show you what's going on under the hood while the Canary is happening, okay? So let's do it. So, okay, let's customize this a little bit just so it's more, so it's easier to understand. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new step group called like a Canary wrap-up. I just made that name. It's just an entity here. And I'm going to move this delete step from this initial to this piece right here. And since I don't have any fancy APM tools right now, instead of doing CV steps, I'm going to do approval steps. But the goal is just to pause the pipeline while I show you the cluster under the hood, okay? So this first one is the step that Harness added for us. I'm gonna change the name to Canary 25. And here is where the magic start to happen. Like instead of doing instance count, I'm going to percentage and I'm going to put 25, and that's pretty much it. Let me just keep adding this stuff to make it easier to follow along. So I'm going to create this approval step, and I'm going to say, can I keep going? It's like a manual CV step. So let's pick the project here. Okay, and let's add another one from the step library called Canary deployment. This is exactly as the first one. So Canary 50. Okay, so instance count percentage. We are doing 50% of 4 existing pods or 4 from the YAML. So hopefully 50% of 4 is 2, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I want to add another approval step here just to make sure that I can show you guys what is happening on the rolling deployment. Under the hood, can I go prod? And finally, I promise that's the last step I'm gonna add. Approval again, okay. Freeze. I think that's solid, guys. Okay, so that's beautiful. Let's just close this window right here, like we have a pipelining ready to go. And just as a reminder, instead of having approval steps, you should have CV steps here to make sure that you are testing your canaries properly, not only as with human feedback, but actually with the monitoring tools, tracking that with tracing, telemetry, tracking that real traffic, okay? So I have this situation right here, and just let me make sure that I'm running this first version. So, okay, I have this service sending this traffic to the 4 existing pods. So I'm gonna start doing a Canary release right now. So let's pick the tag 505, which is our version 2 on this case. As you remember, we are running 504. So let's start deploying this bad boy right now. Okay. So Harness is going to start the deployment for you, and I'll be opening the console view on the top right here just so you can see what is going on as comments, right? So Harness is asking the delegate right now just to check if it can reach your registry, it can fetch your container image, if it can render the templates using Helm commands. So Harness is doing, after this service step here, Harness is going to, actually we're checking the service and the infrastructure, but as soon as we finish that step, we're going to start doing the deployment for real now, okay? So no constraints were detected, we're good for the deployment. Everything seems to be safe. So let's start doing the deployment, right? The first block here is the Canary 25, where I am asking Harness to deploy 25% of canaries on top of those 4. So it means that we should have 5 pods running at the end of this step here. So Harness is not doing anything special, it's just fetching the YAML files, the helpers, is running Helm template for you, replacing the variables, the sensitive stuff that are your secrets, going to your vault, you know, is doing pretty much anything normal for a normal deployment. And now it knows that the Canary is 1 because it's 25% of 4. So now we got stuck on this first fake barrier that we created here that should be a CV step, right? So if we are not doing anything weird, we should be seeing like 5 pods now. So let's open the subsystem here real quick and let me get all again. All right, so what do we have here now? I have a single service, a single entry point, and I have a demo canary here. This is new, right? A new deployment, a new replica set that is asking for 1, and 1 is 25% of 4. So I know that this pod right here is running on 505. So let's run some curl commands again, just so we can see if I reach this 505 eventually. I don't have stick sessions on the curl command, you know, so let's keep doing. 504, 505, okay. We are feeling lucky, right? 504. So let's pretend that this is an application consuming the other one or public facing stuff, and eventually one of your real customers, your client is going to reach on this newer version, while your tools are monitoring everything like your APM tools. So that's pretty much it. We are doing Canary already, right? So let's keep doing to improve our chances to falling in the newer version. So let me just approve that. And Harness is not going to do anything like a custom here. It's just going to, it's like scaling out your Canary releases from 25 to 50%. So let me bring up again the Windows subsystem so we can see in flight what is going on. Here I have a new pod coming and it belongs to the same Canary deployment. So I have 2 and I'm ready. And harness, since it is respecting your probes, it is pretty much doing something like that. Let me show you on the command line. Let me just prop namespace, rollout, status, deployment. It would be just monitoring your Canary, for example. You know, the rollout is complete. So if I just hide this subsystem, you're going to see that it's already on 50. So let me bring this back up and let's just get the pods again. Okay, so I have 6 pods now running. These first 4, these older guys, they are running on version 5.04, and these 2 are running on 5.05. I think we are good. The APM tools are telling that everything is safe. The new version is nice. No one is complaining. We have customers working here on 5.05. Everything is looking good. So I'm feeling confident that I can approve this go to production. When I do that, Harness is just starting a rolling deployment, a very safe rolling deployment on your cluster. So let's track that, okay? Bringing back the subsystem. Let me just put that on the screen for you. And let's monitor the status again, right? So instead of Canary, I'm just going to monitor the real demo. And as you can see, rollout to finish, it is normal, predictable. And Harness is gonna be really verbose here, telling that I'm waiting for Gabriel's lazy startup probe. Since I use a lot of actuators on my Java, I just decide to sleep some of the endpoints on purpose when my startup probes are having a hard time to start. But this is realistic, right? Harness is not letting anything happen until it knows that the release is stable. So when I finish that, we should have 6 pods running on version 5.05. So we have a release. Everything is looking fantastic now, you know. 5.05 here, I can just use my React stuff. Nothing broken. Rollout deployment is happening. So, okay, now that I have a rollout deployment, why don't we delete the Canary, right? Because it's costing us 2 extra pods. So just let me open again this subsystem here. Let me bring that to the screen. Okay, so what do we have here? We have 2 releases here. Okay, can I just watch it? I think I can. I don't know if I can use kubectl. Maybe kubectl because it's just new system. Okay, everything is looking fantastic. I'm watching that from now on. We have 6 pods running on the newer version. Let me just delete this Canary. And as you can see, everything is going on really simple. I don't need ingresses. I don't need fancy sidecars to send traffic to a given endpoint, a virtual service. It is pretty much a single service and Canary working. So let me approve that. And I'll quickly jump to the subsystem again so we can track. Already, we are terminating the Canaries. Where's the release? Where's the deployment? Nothing is going on here, and the new version has been rolled out to 5.05 here. So we have the same tracks, we have the history, the last applied configuration, everything is safe, is protected, and your Canary is gone. So you can just go forward here and start doing some fancy stuff like adding triggers to monitor your registry. So as soon as you have like version 5.06, you trigger this pipeline and it start a Canary again for you. And from now on, you are doing Canary with Harness. And besides that, I just want to bring your attention that this is not only for Kubernetes. You can have fancy situations like ingresses with Kubernetes service mesh. It doesn't matter, but at the same time, you can do legacy. So instead of having a Kubernetes cluster in a namespace as your target infra, as you can see here on the environments definition, instead of having that, I could pretty much do like an WinRM or secure shell. So instead of having this as a target, I would have like a CIDR pool of IPs, a network IP, Henge, and SSH credentials configured, or for Windows, like a window pool machine, I would have WinRM connections like the same we would do for RDP, remote desktop, you know. So Harness would be able to do Canary with a set of machines running on a SSH, for example. But as you can see, Kubernetes is as simple as doing any of those other strategies. It's super straightforward, right? So now we have a Canary. and I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be sending you guys on the description of this video every single detail on the Helm chart, the overrides that I do, the source code of the Java Spring Boot application, so you can just run CI/CD and do your Docker build on a single pipeline and publish to your registry and make a pipeline similar to that that will detect that new artifact on the registry and is going to start deploying the Canary for you. So every entity I'll be putting on a monorepo, and I'll be sharing with you in the description of the video. So I hope you enjoyed that. It is really fun to do Canary with Harness, especially because Kubernetes is so easy to understand as soon as you get it working, okay? So that's it.